We're also joined by four current students who I will introduce in a little while here as we give them an opportunity to tell you about their experiences. And then we have our department chair here, Professor Saif Benjaafar. So I'm going to turn it over to him to get us started.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Welcome, everybody. This is always exciting for me to tell the story of ISyE and to get you excited about ISyE yourselves. Let's see. So ISyE, the Department of Industrial Systems Engineering, is a relatively new department. It's the College of Science and Engineering newest department. Industrial Systems Engineering existed at the University of Minnesota as a graduate program for many decades, going back to the 50s, but we never had an undergraduate degree. An undergraduate degree was established in 2012, and the department was launched at that time, and it became a runaway success. And I'll tell you more about that. But in terms of where we are physically on campus, we are currently in the space between mechanical engineering and the Rapson Hall. It's a nice, cool, modern space, but we quickly outgrew that space, and happy to announce that we'll be moving into a fantastic new space, not too far from the current space. So we're going to be moving into a renovated Lind Hall, which where Lind Hall will become the home of ISyE and one of the main occupants of that space. It's a $33 million renovation, and super excited about the various spaces, including spaces that would be dedicated to students, study spaces, collaborative spaces, conference rooms you can book on demand, labs, classrooms. So it's going to be very cool. So that space will open a year from now in November, December of next year, 22. As I mentioned, we've been growing rapidly. We started with 12 students as our first cohort. These are graduating cohorts. And this past year, last May, we graduated our largest class, over 80 students. In addition to growing rapidly, we're also quite diverse and along many dimensions, but particularly proud of the fact that almost 50% of our students are women. This is unusual for engineering. Here's the faces of the graduating class of last year. As you can see, everybody is very good looking, and it's like super diverse and energetic group. Also energetic are our faculty. So our faculty has been growing as well. And I'm really proud of the faculty we have assembled, all amazing backgrounds, working at the cutting edge of their fields, but also very dedicated to teaching and to mentoring, really care about the students. And this gets reflected in student teaching evaluation. We have some of the highest student teaching evaluations in the college. And you'll hear later on from students who will hopefully confirm that. At the high level, industrial systems engineering fills kind of a unique niche within the college and the university, in the sense that it intersects many areas, but primarily it sits between engineering and business. I would say it's this unique blend of the technical and the managerial. There's a strong focus on the fundamentals, particularly the grounding is in mathematics, but also in computing. And because of the skills you acquire as an industrial engineering are versatile, the applicability is broad. and the career choices and paths are many. Almost any industry you can think of can use an industrial engineer. And then the other distinctiveness I would say is that we have this amazing faculty and dedicated staff. System is in the name of the department. It's in the name of the major. So what is a system? Systems are everywhere. I've listed here a few examples. So supply chains have been in the news lately, right? Supply chains are the lifeblood of the economy, if you may. This is an example of a system. So systems are these large-scale complex systems that involve multiple entities. And so in contrast to traditional engineering that has a focus on devices and products, industrial systems engineering focuses on sort of these big entities, right? This what I'm calling here systems. So supply chains is an example. Healthcare delivery systems is another. Transportation and mobility systems is yet another example. Financial services and many more. And so what makes a system? So I mentioned the scale, the complexity, but also the openness on the environment, on its environment. Typically, it involves multiple stakeholders. So there are multiple decision makers, if you may, multiple parties involved in the delivery of the associated products and services. So multiple companies, consumers, you have government setting rules of how these systems are managed. It involves interactions with multiple infrastructures, natural resources, the transportation infrastructure, the communication infrastructure. And then these systems are increasingly technology intensive. We're focused on the technical design, planning and operation of these systems, but also the kind of the business aspect of these systems. And then these systems have broad societal implications. So if you think of supply chains, for example, increasingly we would like to design, plan, and operate supply chains that are environmentally friendly, minimize the footprint of these supply chains, reduce carbon emissions, and so on. I thought I mentioned two concrete examples of the kind of decisions involved in designing, planning, and operating a system. So this is the Amazon supply chain, for example. If you think of what Amazon does, right? Amazon is a supply chain company, and the kind of decisions to take advantage of the skills of an industrial engineers include how much inventory to order, when and from whom, how many warehouses to build, where to place them, how large these warehouses should be, what markets to serve from each warehouse, so it has to segment geographically a region, how to decide on prices. Increasingly, a lot of these online retailers, including Amazon, right, they do dynamic pricing based on what's selling and what's not, and based on whatever else is going on in the economy. How big of a transportation fleet you have, planes, trucks, vans to have, and then how to carry out that process of delivering these products, how to load delivery vehicles, how to route them. So there's a strong emphasis, right, on managing multiple types of flows, the flows of stuff. There's also management of financial flows, the management of the flow of money, whether it's money associated with how you price your products, but also the kind of contracts you have with your own suppliers. And then the flow of people. So not as much in the context perhaps of a supply chain, but if you think of healthcare delivery systems, right, the physical, there's not necessarily physical product, there's a service being delivered that involves the flow of people, flow of patients through a hospital, the assignment of doctors to patients or to operating rooms, and so on. Here's another example. I'm calling here Uber Logistics. So if you think about Uber, it's kind of a logistics company. It it runs this distributed system. And here's some of the example decisions, right, that Uber has to make. How much to charge. So Uber sits between riders and drivers, right? So how much to charge riders, how much to pay drivers, which riders should be matched with which drivers, how to decide on travel routes, what services to offer and how to price them, which markets to enter. So a lot of this stuff involves taking into consideration kind of the business context, being aware of how consumers make decisions, any regulations that might affect the sort of the choices we have in making these decisions. And then a lot of analytics, right? I mean, there are algorithms that are driving these decisions, whether it's in the context of Amazon or the context of Uber, right? And this is the kind of stuff you will learn as an industrial engineer, is how to develop solutions that can be integrated into the algorithms that drive a company like Uber or Amazon. Hopefully this gives you a flavor of the type of applications that industrial engineers are involved in, the kind of decisions that ultimately we're trying to answer, and the kind of the skill set, a little bit of the skill set. And Lisa will say more about that. But let me finish with this slide, which describes the students that's a good fit for ISyE. I would say critical analytical thinkers. So you have to be curious, you have to be critical, question the status quo, right? Kind of think, innovate. And here innovation, we often think of innovation in terms of products, but there's also important innovation in terms of process. And one could argue that a lot of the cool businesses these days are companies that have innovated in thinking of new ways of delivering products and services. So think about Uber, right? It's not a new product, but it's a new way of delivering mobility on demand. So increasingly, that's the kind of space that industrial engineers operate in. And then desire to apply engineering, yes. Math, that's the grounding. Computing, increasingly the access to data and to computer capabilities, with the goal of solving business problems. So, right, that's the fourth stool of an IE education. So engineering, math, computing, and management, business economics. An interest again in blending business management, but having this technical focus. And in a lot of the things we do, almost everything we do, a strong emphasis on working collaboratively, because that's kind of we try to replicate how an industrial engineer will function in the outside world, and it's often as part of a team. So with that, I will stop here. I could take questions now, or give Lisa maybe a chance to tell you a little bit more about the curriculum, and maybe this will make things a little more concrete for some of you.
Sure, thank you, Saif. And yeah, if people have questions for Saif directly about anything that he talked about or anything else, I won't talk for too long here, so we'll still have a few minutes with him before he has to log out, and you can also go ahead and put those in the Q&A at any time. So yeah, so what does it look like then to actually study industrial and systems engineering here at the U, and how do you learn and develop the skills and kind of that toolbox that you need to go solve problems at places like Amazon and Uber and Fairview Health System, right? And Wells Fargo banks and all these different places. And so I think that's kind of what's interesting and what's exciting about industrial engineering to a lot of our students, is that you really develop this toolbox, a set of skills that you can apply in so many different spaces, so many different types of work that you could do kind of with this common skill set. And so I think, Saif, if you want to stop sharing,
yeah, I'm going to stop sharing. Yes.
Okay. There we go. Okay, here we go. All right, are you guys seeing just the single slide there? Yeah, okay. So, so I have a whole bunch of words here about our curriculum laid out, but really the way that we think about our curriculum are in thinking about kind of the fundamentals, right? This is the classes that you guys are taking right now, your calculus, your physics, your chemistry, that are really an underlying set of knowledge that every engineer needs to have. And then we have courses that we would think of as developing more analytics or data-driven modeling skills. And then courses that are going to be more on the business side, economics, management. What are the social impacts of some of the work that we do? So these aren't necessarily all names of courses, but these are some of the types of topics that we cover across our curriculum. I think one really great strength of our program is that there is a lot of flexibility built into the IE degree plan for students to take electives. So you have at least 15 credits of what we call technical electives within the program that you can select courses from all kinds of different areas to fulfill those electives. They might be other CSE courses, they might be within industrial engineering, maybe computer science, maybe math, maybe mechanical engineering. But we also have a lot of students that would take those courses from maybe the business school or from product design because they're really interested in career paths that go into some of those areas. And then we really do emphasize interactions and learnings from industry, so from the real world into our courses. One thing students really usually like when I say is that none of our courses have labs per se. So once you finish your physics, your chemistry, your computer science course, you're done with labs. But we do have a lot of group projects across our curriculum, and those projects are where you're going to be studying with parts of your own life, right? Oh, I hate waiting in line for a long time at Starbucks, or why is the bus always late? So things like this that you experience within your own life, you'll get to kind of look at with an industrial engineering lens. And then all the way to your senior design project, where you will work with a group of students on a company-sponsored real project with folks, usually engineers, working at those companies. So like a very, I think, exciting final big project experience as part of your studies. So that's sort of like the content of what we teach across our curriculum. I want to be sure to show you what it looks like on a four-year plan. And I'm going to show you two different versions. So for those of you that are currently freshmen or in your first year, this is kind of our standard four-year plan, or the plan that students who decide to major in industrial engineering before starting their sophomore year generally take. And so, so you're probably taking these courses right now. Maybe you had some AP credit, maybe you switch things around a little bit, all fine. But you'll get your first kind of taste of industrial engineering courses fall of your sophomore year with foundations of ISyE and engineering economics, which is a course I'm teaching right now. And then it's your junior year that you really dive into a lot of your core IE coursework. So all these blue classes out here in junior and senior year, with the exception of the business elective, are IE required courses. You're required to take at least one of your electives from the business school, from a selection of different course options. And then you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 courses of technical electives to take spread across your junior and senior year, with really the majority of those happening at the end of your senior year, when maybe you already know, right, where you're going to be working full-time after graduation. Maybe you got some experience as a summer intern the summer before. And so there's certain areas that you want to take a couple of courses in to help build your skill set within a specific area. So we also tend to have a lot of students who discover industrial engineering later than the beginning of a sophomore year. And so it was really important to us that we have an alternate four-year plan available to those students. Oh, and I guess I hit it. I don't have it here, but those of you, if you are currently a sophomore and you're thinking, oh no, I already missed my opportunity to take foundations in engineering economics this fall, I'm going to be a whole year behind. That is not necessarily the case. So if you're currently a sophomore and you're thinking about IE, what I encourage you to do is set up an appointment to come talk with me. And we do have an adapted version of our 4-year plan where you would take some of those sophomore courses in your junior year and potentially still, and in many cases, still be on track to graduate in 4 years. Career outcomes, so something I hear a lot from students who maybe aren't familiar with industrial engineering is either the students themselves or their parents are wondering, oh, can you actually get a job with an industrial engineering degree? The answer is absolutely yes. So this was spring 2020, so the big COVID year of graduates. Right, only over 97% of our graduates that year, and there were about 80 students, either had accepted a full-time job offer or were attending graduate school or in the military within 6 months of degree completion. And this is a very typical number, so high 90% range of students are placed either in graduate school or in a full-time job, very close to after graduation. Many of them, I know many of our current seniors have already accepted full-time job offers. So I'd say there is nothing to be concerned about with finding a good full-time job after graduation. And in fact, our median salary ranges are very close to what you see, or I think very representative across engineering majors within CSE, which on the high end actually are our top salaries for undergrads are one of the highest within CSE. So lots of jobs available. Companies can't hire enough IEs in many cases, and the salaries for those jobs are great. Here's the salary number, and here is a list of some of the companies who have recently been hiring ISyE graduates. I know we have 2 seniors that are going to be talking to you on the panel. Both have accepted full-time jobs already. One with West Mineral Partners here, and I will let the other one tell you what company she will be working at. And they are, finding jobs all over the country. If you want to stay in Minnesota or in the upper Midwest, there's certainly opportunities here, but there's also opportunities around the country. I'll add that many of these companies that you see here are also the companies who are actually paying the department to sponsor senior design projects. So we just actually saw a presentation from somebody at Target who's sponsoring a project, and he found his job at Target when he was a senior doing his senior design project at Target. So, so he's there now. I think he's been there about 5 years and is now coming back as a mentor of senior design projects. So we really work really hard to give all of our students great experiences with these companies, both in the classroom, and then the majority of our students also do either co-ops or internships at companies. You'll get to hear from some real students here in a minute, but until then, just a few quotes about what graduating seniors really love about the ISyE program. Again and again, I think the top 2, the top 3, there's a lot of top ones. Things that I hear are they love the flexibility and ability to take a lot of electives across a diverse set of topics without needing to take extra time to complete their degree. They love the community of faculty, of other students, of our great staff. I think our community within ISyE is really one of the strengths of the program. And then I think just actually what they're learning in their courses is really exciting to our students. And so, so I think that's a great mix of things they talk about. I'm going to go through these last couple slides pretty quickly here. So we also have an integrated bachelor's master's program. So if a master's is something that you might be interested in, this is a great opportunity to start getting credit towards the master's while you're still an undergrad. Let's see, I talked already about working with industry. This is a group actually at Boston Scientific a couple of years ago when we could still be in a room together without masks on. I know we have a former co-op student here on our panel, so I'll let her talk a little bit more about co-op. Study abroad is another great opportunity. Depending on when you go, there's kind of some different terms within our 4-year plan that make it a little bit easier to have more flexibility in terms of what countries or what universities you study at. So that's something I think the sooner you come talk to me or one of our other advisors, the better, or the more options you'll have. Lots of student groups. The president of our Institute of Industrial Systems Engineers student group is here on our panel, so I will let him talk about that. As well as research. So there's definitely opportunities to get involved in research, working with faculty as an undergraduate student. All right, so I want to make sure to pop up our email addresses here for myself, Saif, and Katie. If you have any questions for any of us, we would be happy to get those via email later on if you're not able to ask them today. So I think here I'll just pause a minute before we jump into our student panel and see if there's any questions any of you would like to ask now. Not seeing any in the Q&A. All right, so I'll keep an eye on that. But now I'm ready for the best part, which is turning it over to our current ISyE students. Their names are here, but their names are also in their Zoom boxes. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to go ahead and let each of our 4 students introduce yourselves. And then I have a few questions that I will ask them. And then I'll certainly welcome any questions from our audience. And if you ever take a class with me, which if you decide to major in industrial engineering, you will definitely take at least one class with me. I am a high encourager of student questions in class, and especially students asking questions of other students. So let's see, I'm going to call names so we don't have weird, awkward Zoom interruptions. Let's start with Sam. So maybe who you are, what year are you, and how did you find ISyE as a major? What made you decide? And if it wasn't your initial major, what was?
Yeah, well, I'll first say that I've taken 3 classes with Lisa, so I'm a testament to that, and all of them have been awesome. She's one of our best. So as she mentioned, I'm Sam Mishler. I'm a senior, obviously studying ISyE. And I actually came in as an ISyE major, which I think is relatively rare. I don't know, maybe it's like half and half. But
very rare. There's like 10 of you a year.
Lower than that. Yeah. And so I was in high school and really enjoyed business. My dad was in consulting. And so just always thought that, I'd be going to Carlson or a different business school. And I was in my junior year and my mom's like, you should do engineering. And I'm like, I don't know anything about engineering, but I'm not very creative. I just like to make presentations and write papers. So looked into, some sort of like a hybrid because I knew I didn't really want to abandon that business environment, and found ISyE. And then went to a presentation very similar to this where Lisa gave a little talk about UPS and how they strategize their routes such that drivers never have to take a left turn to save time in intersections. And I thought that was really cool. I just loved the whole notion of being able to systematically analyze just things that we interact with in our everyday lives. I always loved, transportation, logistics, and so those things just kind of naturally fit well. And so I just kind of hopped on the bus and never looked back. So.
Great. Thank you. I'll have to bring my UPS example back. That was my first internship as a college student. Let's see, Natalie, you're next on my grid here.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Natalie. I'm a junior, and I originally came into the U as a mechanical engineering student. I did robotics in high school, and I love design, and I kind of thought that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then freshman year, I went to one of those required major exploration events, and I went to the ISyE one, and it kind of piqued my interest because I had always also been interested in business. So eventually I switched my major because it's just that perfect intersection, and I love it. So that's me.
Thank you. Jacinta.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacinta, or Jacinta for short. So I'm actually a 5th year student here in ISyE. Originally I was in biochem in CBS, and the road to CSE was a very interesting one, but I transferred into CSE first going into biosystems and bioproducts engineering. And that first semester I took that major, I realized it wasn't for me. It was not, the kind of career that I wanted to go for. So I actually went to a lot of career counseling appointments to kind of find a little bit more about myself and what I liked. And what I found about myself was that, I wanted to marry being creative with a lot of the technical aspects of the way that I think. I think very logically, but also very abstractly, and kind of marrying that together. I was able to meet Professor Miller after a lot of those career counseling engagements, and she really inspired me to look into ISyE a little bit more, but the decision was ultimately my own. And what I really found in ISyE that I loved, that separates ISyE from other CSE programs, is that there is never one final answer or one final way to get to an answer. And I really love that because I love to find different solutions to figure out certain problems. And this major really, really opened that door for me and really opened me to the engineering world in a way that wasn't just so boxed in and made you feel like, this is the one way you figure something out. It really allowed me to flex my brain a little bit more in the ways that I already enjoyed too. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. I'm inspired. I want to major in industrial engineering now. Joseph.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Joseph, and I'm currently a 2nd year student studying ISyE. Big shocker, but anyways, I originally matriculated into CSE as an ISyE student, but at the same time I was like, maybe computer science. We'll see that. So I took 2 semesters. I got really far up into that curriculum, going into my technical electives in computer science, but then I had an internship, and I was like, I don't think computer science is the right fit for me. And so I just went back to that route of ISyE. I knew that I was good at math. I knew that I loved math, and I just asked my question, like anytime I'm studying, why am I doing this? And with computer science, I didn't really see any kind of impact that I was putting on, just like learning effective algorithm design or something like that. So going to ISyE, I saw that I was able to use those problem solving skills that I naturally have and really apply them to something that I can see, something that I can impact using my technical knowledge.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So I think next, because it was mentioned by at least one of you, maybe others, I'd love if each of you could tell a little bit about either your internship experiences, or I know Natalie and Cynthia, you guys have both co-opted. And so a little bit of what you did in a job with an industrial engineering education. Let's see, Cynthia, I'll start with you this time.
Hello. Okay. So, you guys know that I'm a 5th year, and actually the co-op program fit right in with that awkward, you can only take this class in this semester. So I was actually able to do a full 3 rotation of the co-op at CommScope, which is a telecommunications company. They are the facility here in Minnesota in Shakopee is an R&D lab. So they do a lot of manufacturing for their test engineers to be able to make prototypes of their connectors. Fiber optics connectors is what they specialize in Shakopee. And the 3 rotations that I went through were so valuable to me because I really got to see what it was like actually being in the workplace and what that separation was from school. And the 3 rotations I went through were with the test engineers. So I got to see what the documentation, what the actual manufacturing line kind of entailed. And then I also got to work in the actual manufacturing prototype lab with the manufacturing and automations team. And then my last rotation, which is my favorite and is actually the team that I'll be working on starting in January, was the process engineering department. And that's just a subsection of the IT department. So I'll be working in IT. But all of these skills kind of really taught me how to problem solve in a way that wasn't as rigid and structured. Like you really had to do a lot of the work yourself into discovering what was wrong and how to navigate the way out. And yeah, that's a little bit about the information regarding what I did in the internship and how I kind of applied ISyE to it. I know in our manufacturing, a class that Professor Miller actually teaches, which is quality engineering, when I was in my manufacturing rotation, I used the DMAIC process for a project that she taught. And it was actually an extension of what we were already working on in the line. So I got to learn both in the class as well as develop my knowledge within the actual company and how everything works. So that's one application of it. And lately in my last rotation, which was my favorite in the process engineering, it actually opened up my eyes to a lot of methodologies that we're using currently in our project management classes. So things like waterfall, Scrum, Agile, all of those kinds of methodologies and practices that you can use that are widely used in commercial industries. You actually get to really learn and actually apply what you have done in your project management classes, whether it's a Microsoft project with scheduling things out, or actually doing the frameworks and the different tests and processes I got to do and got to see a lot of. CommScope actually recently went through an acquisition of another company. So I also got to see a lot of the political climate of that. And I think as an industrial engineer, you really learn how to work with the people. I think we're a very down-to-earth major that is very people-centered and is really keen on working with not just higher up management, but also the people who are running the processes that keep the business alive. So that is something that I really loved about being in my co-op the last 3 semesters.
Awesome. Thank you. Natalie, you want to talk a little about your co-op?
Yeah, so I am currently in my co-op. I'm in my 2nd semester, and I'm working at a company called Polar Products Company in Roseville. And they also make connectors, but for fluid. So over the summer, my first rotation was in design engineering, which, normally you'd think maybe that would be a mechy kind of job, but I think I found a lot of ways to apply IE even in a more very technical design-based role. So a few projects I worked on were just like analyzing certain processes that, like a packaging process, and what steps do we not need to be, doing in this process, or what's costing us too much money. So that was a few projects that I did like that over the summer. And then this fall, I am doing project management as my rotation. So I'm kind of getting a head start on that curriculum, but I totally love it. It's super fun. And I do, again, a lot of like continuous improvement projects that focus on, where are we being inefficient in said process, along with just leading certain, projects. So one thing I'm doing this semester is managing all of our prototype builds. So I have a weekly stand up with all the design engineers, and I see where all their projects are at, what do we need to do to get this done? And this is kind of what I think I want to go into, is more project management. So it's been really fun to see how, IE can be applied to a more business side of things, not maybe just like a manufacturing side, but also like how to effectively and efficiently manage people's time. I think that's been really fun for me. And then I'm hopefully going to be doing a third rotation in the summer, and I'll be doing something different, probably manufacturing. So yeah, I totally would recommend the co-op. Like Jacinta said, you really get to see like what industry is really like. It's a good break from the curriculum while you're learning like the basics and the textbooks scenarios. You really get to delve into the real world in a co-op or an internship. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And I don't know that I actually defined what a co-op is. So we've all kind of heard of summer internships. A co-op is sort of an extended version of that, where most students will do 2 or sometimes 3 back-to-back semesters where you're working full-time. So usually taking a semester off of school, or only taking 1 class in a fall or a spring, so that you can continue working full-time through that semester. All right. Oh, Saif had to log off. That's all right. Sam, you want to talk about yours? And then Joseph, I'm going to have you talk about what you were able to do as an intern just after your freshman year. Okay. All right, Sam, it's all you.
Yeah, totally. So as Lisa mentioned, I have experience with West Monroe Partners, and I think I told Katie this, but I don't know if I actually told you. I interned with them, and I'm actually going to work for a different company, not through the fault of West Monroe, but because as an IE, there's a lot of offers that come your way. So it speaks to the volume of the department. But regardless, I interned at West Monroe, and it's a consulting firm that, unique to a lot of consulting firms, offers a lot of IE related content and work material. And so consulting, just in the nature of how dynamic it is, gave me the opportunity to work in kind of several different applications related to IE. So I did projects in like process mapping and process improvement, which is a lot of our baseline manufacturing techniques that we use. I did some supply chain work. And then also my main project was a systems integration, which was essentially, we had this company that bought out multiple other companies, and we were looking at all of their day-to-day IT processes and like combining them all together. So it leveraged a lot of kind of analytical and mathematical thinking. I was using like our optimizational tools, Power BI, in addition to a lot of business acumen, which was obviously very developmental. So consulting is fast-paced, it's dynamic, and it really gives you kind of a good insight into the business environment. And that kind of led me to want to get the management minor here in IE. And so my focus is really in business and business process improvement. And I'll actually be going to work for a company called Ingersoll Rand, which is a larger manufacturer of heavy machinery, working in their account development. So kind of taking a lot of that stuff I learned in consulting over to the business world, or over to the industry world, I should say. So there's definitely a lot of really cool applications to having this engineering mindset and taking it to the business, general business realm. I think one thing I will say is you will definitely stand out for your analytical and for your computational knowledge as an industrial engineer, because you're someone that can speak the language of the business folks. You can, get along well with them. You have strong communication skills from your group project work and your presentations. But at the same time, you know what you're talking about from a technical perspective too, and you can do the math and run the numbers and show that, again, you have both of those aspects. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. All right, Joseph, somebody must have walked into the room with you.
Yeah, I'm currently out in the hallway, so I apologize if you hear any kind of other background noises. But a little bit more about my internship. So this last summer, I was an intern at Secure Financial. It's a Fortune 500 financial services company, and I worked as an engineering analyst intern. So a little bit more on like the software engineering, software development side of the entire company. And there, I treated it more as a development for me type of role, for me to like kind of like learn a lot more about financial services, because there's a lot of jargon and a lot of terminology that people within insurance have to speak. And so I had to like take an online course during my internship for that, just so that I can understand what people are saying. And so there I also worked on a Scrum team filled with a bunch of other software engineers, a bunch of quality assurance engineers. And I was basically a software engineer on the team just for the summer. And so every single week, every single day, we would just meet as a team, devise a plan, and really just help bring tools to the company. And what I really did was just really to create these tools for the company internally to use, so that the processes can be a lot better. It's a little bit more on the software engineering side again. And yeah.
Great, thank you. So I would love to see at least one question from our audience here for the students. I know you're thinking of questions, and I always say if you're thinking of it, then at least 3 other people in the room are thinking the same thing. So go ahead and pop your questions in. I'm gonna ask my last question, which is, what advice do each of you have for students who are considering if they should major in ISyE? Let's see, I'll start with Natalie this time.
I would say, I guess just going to events like this is a great start. And kind of like we touched on in the presentation, everybody in ISyE is very welcoming, and I'm sure anybody will talk to you for 30 minutes on why ISyE is so great. So I'm sure you can reach out to any of us who are on this panel, or anybody you can find if you would like to talk more. But I think even just in general, as you're exploring, what major to go into, just be very open and look at all your options. Don't just stick to something because you think that's what you should be doing. You're still in college, you have so much time to figure out what you want to do. And I think something that's reassuring, at least with ISyE, that some other people have said, is that there's so many career paths that you can go into. You can go into pretty much any sort of industry, any sort of field that you want. So, I mean, that's something that I love about it, is that I'm not, pigeonholed into one industry. I can kind of go and do whatever. So yeah, that's kind of my pitch.
Great. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, so I actually heard this today and it's stuck with me all day, so I'm going to pass it along. You're never too old to stop learning. So I guess I think of our major, and I think of a major in college as one, like a door that obviously gets you into whatever opportunities you want post-grad. But 2, it's really just like the beginning, the stepping stone of that end goal and that end impact that you want to make. And so I think when you're considering if ISyE is a fit, the notion of just like envisioning what you want your job, you want your life, maybe you're going to go into graduate school, whatever that is, to be like in 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Think about where you see yourself and kind of form like a vision or impact statement. Like, what do I, as person X, want to do with my life? What motivates me to go to work every day? If it's solving complex systems and working with logic and running computer optimizational programs, or just functioning in business or consulting environments, all of those things would fit really well with ISyE. But if it's not, I think the ultimate goal is just to kind of figure out what that impact you want to make is, and then find the right fit that gets you there, knowing that it's not the end all be all. It's really just a door to other opportunities.
Excellent advice, Sam. Cinta.
So something I will say about the ISyE department and a lot of the students, they are extremely versatile. So many of the students I know in ISyE like are so well-rounded beyond just our majors. And I think that's just such a powerful talent to tap into. And I think this major really expands that beyond just being in the classroom. And then something I love just about the classes too that you take, they're so applicable to literally anything in your life, whether it's how you want to set up your room or how you want to schedule out your day. A lot of the things that you learn in ISyE are so powerful to everyday ways that you want to optimize your life. I am I like to stay pretty on top of things and be organized, but I also can slack off here and there. And I think ISyE really helps me give this framework and kind of lens into how I like to live my life. So it's very fitting with just like my personality and who I am. And one advice or piece of advice that I would like to give a lot of students who are just kind of finding their majors is not only to think about what you're technically good at, who are you as a person, and what do those traits, what do those soft skills bring to your table, and how do you use them? Because those are the questions that when you ask yourselves that, they really guide you to where you eventually will end up. Even the ones where you say no to, or the ones that you don't align with, every no leads you to another yes. So I think, yeah, that's a really powerful tool to decide your major as well.
Awesome. Something you reminded me of, Cinta, that none of you have said yet. So tell me if this is not true anymore, but that I often hear from students about ISyE is that our group of students is very supportive of each other. So I've really never seen students competing with each other in a class. They're always willing to help each other on homework problems or studying for exams or practicing for a job interview. I think it's the most like supportive group of classmates that you could have on campus. That's my unbiased view. All right, Joseph, I'm going to let you answer the question, and then Sam knows that I don't like to end a session without somebody asking a question besides me. So he asked a question to Natalie. So let's hear your answer to what should these students know, Joseph, if you have anything to add, and then we'll let Natalie talk about student groups.
Yeah, just like touching on what everyone else has said, the ISyE department is very supportive of each other. I always find myself making group chats and really just helping each other on the homework, doing projects with each other, and really just create this community. And it's just a very great time with each other. And I will say that like before, I was kind of like going through like a bunch of different majors, and something that really got me to ISyE was really just wanting to try something new. And you can really just go anywhere with trying something new, whether that's like exploring some kind of industry out there in the real world, joining a student group, or even doing research, doing internships. Just doing all these new things will really help you learn more about yourself and really help you pave your way for your future.
Awesome. Natalie, would you like to tell us a little bit about a student group you're affiliated with and how it's helped you develop within the major?
Yeah, so I am on the board for the Institute of Industrial Engineers with Sam. So this is basically just a group of ISyE students and anybody who maybe would have parallel interests as us. So that could be somebody in the business school or somebody in computer science or another engineering field. Pretty much the goal of our group is professional development and connecting students with companies. So we'll have professional meetings come in, or professional meetings where we have companies come in and tell the students about what they do and maybe what opportunities they have for students. And then we also just have casual meetings where you get to just connect and network with other students, which is really fun. So how it's helped me, I guess, is to build even more of a community outside of class. So you get to really, have like a weekly meeting, or if you're on the board, even more time together with other students in the major. So that has been really beneficial to me, just to get to know people even more, and has really kind of given me resources if I need them. Maybe if you need a study group or you need somebody to, whatever, it's a great spot to meet people for that. And then I know a lot of people, and maybe Sam can speak to this, is just finding even internship opportunities through the group. I know that is a big perk of our club. So this is like a little pitch for those on the call. Look out for our meetings next spring. We'd love to have you come.